and welcome along to this edition of The Final Whistle on LairMedia.tv. And we have our usual email, info@lairmedia. We'll have another person coming along. He's going to be a bit late tonight, he told me. Probably out enjoying the fresh air. Good evening, Anna Moore, and welcome.
Good evening, Pat. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Joe Waters, and welcome again.
Good evening, Pat. Good evening, Anna.
It looks like Joe is in his salubrious pad in downtown Manhattan, but I know he's not.
I'm in downtown Ruston.
Did a cousin of yours get married during the week, Joe?
Well, we had a christening in the family, and
No,
I think there was a wedding, and Mary was at the wedding.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. I saw Mary.
I Facebooked her, but she hasn't replied to me, so I don't know. I saw my Uncle Jar and my aunt
saw him as well.
and my cousin Jar. I saw all the photographs, and Tina.
Oh, I tell you, Anna, the Waters took over the whole country. There's
Good for
waters
them.
everywhere.
Good for them.
You shout the name Waters, and there's someone surely jump over the crowd and say hello to you. And press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel. We're going to start off with boxing because obviously I stayed up watching it from my sons. I had to see it live. I had to know when it happened, you know. I had to see it. And it was over about 4:05, which wasn't too bad, you know, really, at 4:10, whatever time it does. But I mean, there's been so much written. Anyway, look, just officially, she won the fight on a split decision. For people who don't follow boxing, 3 judges scored the fight. 2 of them went 96-93 for Katie Taylor, and the other one went 96-94 for Serrano. So look, that's the way. Anna, we start with Anna. Anna, you know Katie Taylor not longer than myself or Joe. You know, you knocked around with her when she was a little fledgling, trying to get a pair of gloves onto her. You know, it's a supreme effort that she's made to be like this, to train like this.
I was honoured that I was with her at European and World Championships. I was with her when she qualified for the first Olympics in London and the second one in Kazakhstan when she qualified. I have been honoured that I've been at the highest level of world and European and box cups with Katie Taylor. And I have to say, a more dedicated girl in boxing you would never meet. She gave it everything, and she's still doing that now as a professional. And anything that she has, she deserves because she works bloody hard for it.
And for people that don't know, it's not all about gloves, putting on the gloves and bashing the head off someone. There's a lot of training and fitness and movement and in all of this. It's not just standing there belting each other. I mean, she's a supreme mover. I mean, the training that goes into that, to be able to go around, dodge, keep moving, and keep landing punches as well. It's just dedication, pure dedication.
Well, we were very lucky, Joe. Miles Casey, he was with St. Francis. Miles is only after coming back. He spent 2 weeks over in America sparring with her. Amy Broadhurst went over for 2 weeks. But Miles came back 2 weeks ago. They brought him over, asked him to go over and spar Katie. And he sparred her for 2 weeks over in America.
And it was lovely to see Andy Lee in the corner.
Was it?
Yeah, it was lovely
to see Andy there.
I think he was there, all right. Yeah.
I didn't see Andy. No, I didn't see Andy. No.
But when I say he wasn't in the corner permanently, I saw him there between rounds. That's what I meant. Sorry.
He could have been at the fight. He would have been. They're very close friends.
Yeah.
They're very close friends, Joe. When she was an amateur, they'd go out to dinner and all together. You know, they're very, very similar actually to each other. As in, Andy would be a gentle giant, and Katie would be very similar. Both of them very humble boxers. You know.
Yeah, and Joe, did you I don't think you got to see it at all, did you, Joe?
I didn't get to see it, but I can, you know, just the level of fitness that you're talking about there, Pat, to be able to be in a ring for, and I forget the size of the ring now. I don't remember what it is.
24 by 24.
24 by, so it's 8 by 8, 8 yards by 8 yards. Is that what it is? Yeah. So, I mean, just moving in that, you know, I know from my own career in soccer, we used to play a little exercise 3v1 in an 8 by 8 grid. And it was the hardest minute that you ever spent just running around trying to win the ball. And I can only imagine somebody getting ready to go 2 minutes on this, and then to do it for 10 rounds and be throwing punches. I mean, the sheer dedication and hard work that has to go into that is just unbelievable. And you know, I mean, you can't help but be proud of her.
Absolutely,
the way she did everything. I mean, she started off well. It looked like in the middle of it, she had a bit of a wobble, and then at the end of it, came back from the wobble and took over the fight again. And I mean, that in itself, just the psychological side of that is a huge thing to overcome. It'll be very easy at that point to, you know, kind of let it happen and give it up. But it took great courage to do what she did. And
where was her base, Anna? Was it Colorado?
She's based in a place called, I think it's Vernon. It's Colorado, but I think it's Vernon she lives in. She bought a lovely house there, you know.
Lovely.
But she's up on a hill and it's woods around it, so she finds it very good for her training and that, you know.
Yeah.
So she's training at altitude then?
Yeah.
If she's in Colorado?
Yeah.
Which would help.
But she was very lucky because Ross, that trainer she got, she was blessed when she actually went to him to ask him if he'd train her. And he done exceptional with her. That man has brought her to the level she's at now, because as you said, Pat, we just finished our championships, under 13 championships, and we had some walkovers. And what I always tell the boxers, it's not getting into the ring and winning that fight, that final, what makes you a champion. What makes you a champion is the work you put in your gym, day in and day out. That's what makes a champion. And that's what Katie Taylor is. She is so dedicated to her sport. She is so dedicated. I was hoping that she'd retire now, but she said no, she's not ready.
Well, I hope that she retires soon, because we know the history of an awful lot of boxers. I'm not saying it happened to Katie Taylor, because I was reading a very interesting article. I know, Joe, you're my vintage, you probably remember Irish Jerry Quarry. Do you remember Jerry Quarry? Yeah. And
Did
it's a pity.
Did he fight Muhammad Ali, Jerry Quarry?
I was going to say, he was fighting at the time.
Right.
Muhammad Ali was around, Ken Norton, Fraser, Josh Chevalier. He was around at the golden era of heavyweights. It's unfortunate in a way that he came along with all of those characters, but he would, under other circumstances, he may have been world heavyweight champion, because he's a fantastic fighter. But I'm just hoping to get somebody related to him onto the show, you know, because I was reading about him, and very, very sad, and very sad end, you know, very sad for Jerry Quarry. But anyway, that's not changed. But I hope that Katie Taylor, if she has to have a last fight, we were saying before the program came on air, that it may be in Croke Park, to be lovely, or even in Thomond Park, or anywhere down here.
I think somewhere like Thomond Park or Parky Keeve, the capacity there would be better than 80,000 in Croke Park. But I think she can fill it, because I mean, I went to the Olympics in London, and when you went down the Mall, it was like being in Croke Park. And I think it would be like that again. And more so because people will travel from all around the world to see it.
They will.
And if as you said before the program, if she actually says she's retiring after this fight, I think she will pack Croke Park. And I don't care how much a ringside seat is, I'll be in that ringside seat.
And my brother was in Barcelona in '92 when the lads, when Michael Carruth won the gold medal, and he was at the fight, and the amount of red and green, white and gold was astonishing altogether. As you said, it was like being down O'Connell Street in Dublin on an All-Ireland final day. It was just out of this world.
Joe and Pat, if you were in London for her semi-final and her final, I got off the train, I was going down the steps down to the mall, and it was just a sea of green, white and gold. You think you were in Ireland.
Yeah,
and I was speaking to some people, they knew nothing about boxing, but they were just going to see Katie Taylor, and that was it.
I'm just reading, I hope she'll retire undefeated like another fella way back in the 1950s and 60s, was Rocky Marciano, 49-0, not out. Rocky Marciano retired undefeated. And of course, he got killed in a plane crash a couple of years later then. But anyway, we wish Katie Taylor the very best and good luck. I hope she'll make the right decision for whatever it may be. And she's brought honour and glory to her profession, to the sport of boxing, and to Ireland as well. And indeed, we're honoured that Anna would be here. Anna saw her grow from a little scrawny amateur to the pinnacle where she is now. The final whistle is the programme. Our email is info@dermedia.tv, and press the red button to subscribe to our channel. Liverpool 2, Villarreal 0, and Man City 4, Real Madrid 3 during the week. Anna, did you see any of the soccer during the week?
I did, Pat. I did see. I saw Liverpool. I thought they could have won. They should have won by about 6. But it was easier. It looked like it was easier put it into the net than out, but it just didn't happen. And I think that they will get through to the final. And you know, the thing about it is, if they get through to the final tomorrow, they're in the final of the FAI. They're in the final of the European Cup, and they're 1 point away from winning a league. You know, I mean, that's a phenomenal for a team. You know, to be at the very end of the season, you're in everything, and that's unreal.
That's shocking.
Joe, did you see any of the European soccer?
I did. I watched both games. I thought that the City game, the Real Madrid game, was a fantastic game of football, and it should have been over. It should have been 4 or 5 by half time. If City had made better decisions in front of goals instead of going for glory. I mean, their MO normally is to put it to the back post and give guys tap-ins, but guys decided to take their own shots on and what have you. I saw the Liverpool game. I didn't think Liverpool were ever really troubled in that game. Villarreal kind of played more of a defensive game, hoping to hit Liverpool on the break, but they didn't. They weren't able to do that, and I think Liverpool had it pretty handy in the finish. But it's, you know, I mean, they're doing fantastic. I've watched them a few times in the last few weeks, and I haven't been overly impressed with the way they've played. But they're getting results, so that's all that counts. And at this time of the year, you know, people look for performances, and they're looking at, oh well, we want to look good to do this. No, it doesn't matter about performances now. Performances were earlier in the season. Now you're down to where you're winning trophies and not winning trophies. And sometimes it doesn't have to be pretty, you know. And for them to have 1 in the bag already and still going for 3 more on the in the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season is absolutely fantastic for them.
And you know, I think as well, Joe, even if they didn't get the 3, I think the achievement they've done is outstanding. And a lot of what they've done is because of their bench, because they have as good quality players on the bench as they have clean. You know, and I think that's what makes a good team. If you have the same quality players on the bench, and he rotates for different games, you know, which is great.
Yeah. You know, the irony of the whole thing, we talked about early on in the season, that Liverpool's bench was not as deep as Man City's bench. And it's turning out now with the young guys that they've got coming through, with the injuries that are coming, the guys coming back and being fit, and with Jota hitting his stride and Diaz hitting his stride, you put those two guys in and you take out Mane and you take out Salah, and it doesn't seem like they miss a beat.
No.
Bobby Firmino has played, who's been a fantastic player for Liverpool, has really played a big part in the season this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been important in some games, but he hasn't played as much as he has in the past. But to have a guy like that ready to come on, it's fantastic. So it's, I didn't think that it was ever possible to win all four just because it'd be so difficult. And it's still going to be difficult, but to be in the hunt and to have the stamina and the ability to do what they've done, and to play so well early on in the season, and
you're right.
Entertain so much, and now be a team that is they can be very, very functional when they want to. They can defend very well when they want to, and they can attack in a heartbeat. So it's a very strong possibility. I thought that Chelsea might be a problem for them in the FA Cup, but Chelsea seem to have lost the plot at the moment.
Well, last night they lost to Everton 1-0.
Right.
Chelsea, Now they were all at times. I watched that game. They were all over Everton, but Everton stood fast. But then Everton, and Joe, if you think you're going down, you have to play harder because of then if you're up at the top, because you don't want to go down. And I was delighted for Everton. I know they're in Liverpool and they're against Liverpool, but I would hate to see a big club like Everton go down. I really would.
Well, but just the rivalry itself. I mean, the history of the rivalry is absolutely. I remember we played Liverpool in the FA Cup in 1979-80 season, and Liverpool were at Anfield, and there was a full house at Anfield. And those Grimsby people that couldn't get into Anfield went across Stanley Park to go watch Everton play, who were playing at home on the same day. And there was a full house over there. So the tradition of football in those two clubs.
Absolutely.
I mean, even families, Joe, you'd have half a family following Everton and half the other half following Liverpool,
That's right. But the highlight for me of the European Cup, I'm sorry now to all Liverpool fans, is Benzema's penalty against Man City, lads. That summed up the man himself to me. His penalty, I couldn't envisage myself doing that in a European Cup match. No way, But that's it. So I was saying to Joe and before we come on here that I think Real Madrid will beat City in Madrid. I think they'll be meeting Liverpool in Paris in the final. That's only my opinion. I don't know.
I think that if Man City had, as Joe said, took their chances in the first half, it would have been out of Real Madrid's hands. But they didn't take their chances, and Real Madrid are such a brilliant team that they were able to come back after halftime, regroup, and come back to 3-4. If you're only one down in Real Madrid and you're going to their ground, I think it's going to be very difficult for Man City.
And the final whistle of the programme, we're recording this on Monday, the 2nd of May, for people looking back at it later. Bruno Fernandes has just given Manchester United the lead against Brentford in the 20th minute, for people who may not like those things, but they're playing Brentford tonight. Ronaldo has scored 19 goals. That's all the same, even though he didn't play in a lot of matches for Man United. So he's I suppose you could say he's paid his way. But Norwich and probably Watford are gone down at this stage. And the last place is between Everton, Leeds and Burnley. Everton, Leeds and Burnley would be the last. There'll be one out of those three going down as well. So it's going to be very tough on them all. They're all decent clubs. Great tradition, of course, Joe and Anna with Leeds, who haven't been up now for a long time. I'd hate to see them going down because they've struggled and they might be able to get investment in. I don't know. I like to see what we call traditional clubs back up and staying up there. But there you go. There's nobody going to make it easier for anybody else. But your own club, former club, Grimsby, had a 2-2 draw with Barnet over the weekend, Joe. And
Yes,
They're doing
I
very
think-
well, Joe, aren't they?
they
Grimsby.
are. They are. They're actually level on points with Notts County,
Yeah.
and I think there's 3 of them on the same points. Actually, I'm going to be in Grimsby this coming weekend. I'm going over there on Wednesday, and I'm coming back a week from tomorrow. So I'm going to be at the game on Saturday.
Oh, good.
Hopefully, a
Good.
win for us.
Put on your phone and have it charged up.
I will. Yeah. So but they're doing great. There's still work to be done because there's so many good teams. You know, you're looking at the likes of Chesterfield being around on the same points. I think Notts County are on the same points. So it's
Have they a chance of going up,
pretty
Joe?
impressive.
Have they?
I'm sorry, Anna.
Have they a chance of going up?
They have.
Well, they have a chance of making the playoffs.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that's going to be the best they can hope for. Stockport are top, and they actually beat Stockport a week ago Saturday. So that was a great result from Stockport. Are having a bit of a wobble, but Wrexham are right behind them, and of course they're owned by the 2 Americans.
They are, and there's a series of matches tonight in the National League as well for people who are interested in the National League. Grimsby aren't playing tonight, but most of the other teams around, some of the teams around them are playing. There's probably, I was looking at the table, of the 4 or 5 teams in the playoff slot, there's only really 2 teams below Grimsby that could jump over them, that could overtake them now at this stage. So it's that narrow. And it could come down to goal difference. I was just calculating. I do these things out of complete boredom. It could come down to goal difference as well. But we wish them well. Wigan, of course, Wigan are champions. It's lovely to see Wigan winning. I was delighted for James McLean. He's been through a rough patch now and again, but it was lovely to see Wigan being champions there, coming up to the championship. Also in League One, Wycombe Wanderers got promoted from League One up to the championship, and Wycombe Wanderers have a young lad playing with him. He was playing with Ashling and Akoti, and then he went up young Horgan, and he was playing with Galway United until Wycombe came knocking doors. It's nice to see a talent like that recognised. They are actually they hold him in very high regard in the club. Now they've got an MK Dons, Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, and will probably be fighting it out for the other place in that division. But anyway, we won't confuse you all because you can read it all in the papers because we confuse ourselves as well, you know. But looking forward now to just before we leave soccer, by the way, Pike Rovers and Villa are into the FAI Junior Cup final, and I don't know where that's going to be played because Villa are from Waterford and Pike are just down the road from Pike Rovers. So I don't think they'll take those 2 teams to Dublin and for the FAI Junior Cup final.
I actually say they will. I'd say they will.
Do you think so?
But I remember when we were playing Villa in Waterford in the final, we had to go to Waterford to play it.
Oh.
We had to go to Waterford to play the FA Junior Cup below in Waterford, which would have been Villa's ground, really, you know. We did beat them, but we had to go down there. I think the best place for a cup match like that would be like Clonmel. Clonmel or Tipperary. They have fabulous pitches. I think, you know, that would be between both, like, you know, or even down to Turner's Cross.
Or what about the Marcus Field?
Well, that really wouldn't be fair. You know, I mean, I think it's better a neutral ground, but we played St. Michael's of Tipperary. We played them in the final below on Turner's Cross. So maybe they might bring it to Turner's Cross. And I do wish Pike all the best. I do wish them the best.
Well, it'll be a tough one because Villa are good. You know, they've beaten a lot of decent teams, but we hope that, well, I was at the last final they were in. It was disappointing, you know, and they got you know, they got off to a great start, but anyway, it's a couple of years back now.
But I do feel their manager, Robbie Williams, Robbie is exceptional. He played professional in England. and he came to play with Limerick. And it's so funny because Robbie's in-laws are all Fairview people. They're all Fairview, Jerry Cantillon and them. And Robbie's the manager. But that's his living, and nobody begrudge him. But he's actually a player manager, and he's so steady in the back. He's kept him in a lot of matches now, And
well, they did
I
say
like
that.
Robbie. I do. I think Robbie Williams is a lovely guy.
They said I was reading the account. He moved back to front of back four when they were under pressure. And he steadied the ship, and really, he's an astute professional soccer brain in him. But we wish Pike the very best, and these are from two Fairview people, lads. Here, I can't say too much more now. Or 1.5 Fairview people.
Well, I'm the only Pike person here.
You are.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So now,
I can at least say I was born in the Pike.
You were. You were.
Well, that's so important. The final whistle is the program on LearMedia.tv. Press the red button to subscribe to our channel, and thanks to all the viewers who make this possible, and all of you who contribute your time as well. We move quickly along with a few more items. The Women's Rugby Six Nations Championship finished up over the weekend. Ireland beat Scotland, which was a credible result for Ireland. Well, I know we've spoken about it, I probably went overboard myself negatively, but look, they did well.
You did, Pat.
They did well. They did well, and I think that I don't know. There's a few of them there. I just took the time to look back at it. There's a few of them there. I'm not an expert on rugby, but there's a few. We have a few cracking players. England beat France in the deciding match to win the Six Nations, and France were runners up. Wales and ourselves then. Italy did well. Italy won their last match, against Wales. They beat Wales 10-8. So look, maybe it augurs well. They have to start somewhere. Now, before we leave rugby union, I know anyone of you see it over the weekend. There's so much sport on, it's very difficult to see it all. The Ireland Ladies 7. There was a controversy about them participating in the Sevens tournament in Canada because they took 3 or 4 excellent players from the squad, if you know the squad that they were preparing for the Six Nations, and they moved them over to the Sevens. But they beat France twice. They beat France in the third place playoff, the bronze medal. They won the bronze medal in the Sevens tournament, which is huge, a big tournament. They've done very well. And I'm glad they're putting some resources into this, the same with the men's Sevens, And they finished second in their first tournament, so they finished third in this. Now, they weren't all the top teams there, but there's 3 or 4 of them. And I think it augurs well for the women's game. The Sevens, I think, I like the Sevens game in men as well, I think there's less crash bang wallop in it, than in the full 15, I don't know what you think of that, but
I think also, Pat, that congratulate the rugby in their under 20s that done the Grand Slam. That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
That was fantastic. That's fantastic. Ronnie O'Sullivan is one frame away from winning his 7th World Championship. He's 17-11 against Judd Trump. Just to give you an up to date on that, and well, it'll be. Do you know something? I know you're interested in snooker, lads, but Ronnie O'Sullivan, to me, is probably the best snooker player I've seen in my lifetime. I know, Joe, do you follow snooker, Joe? Do you watch a bit of it?
I don't know because we don't get a lot of it. But when I lived in England, I got to watch a lot of it. Actually, I was very fortunate. I met Dennis Taylor and Hurricane Higgins. They played an exhibition in Cleethorpes when I was playing for Grimsby, and I knew Willie Thorne very well. He was a member of the same Osborne's snooker hall in Leicester when we used to play there every afternoon, and he'd be there. So I had a great interest in it back there. I've been following Ronnie a little bit. He got in a little bit of trouble with the referee, I think, early on in the match. In the final match, he was making some gestures apparently that weren't appreciated. and he thought that the referee was picking a fight with him.
Yeah, and I think the referee will be admonished over that particular incident, not the one against the first round match, but this one.
Right.
I think it was unfair on O'Sullivan, and to say it during the match is out of order, in my opinion. It's all snooker is in the head a lot of the case, and to say something to a player in a final is shocking by officials. They should have waited till the frame was over, until the break came, and then have it. But during the match is shocking. That referee should not get a match again in snooker, in my opinion.
Well, I agree. I mean, that could take his concentration away from that frame, you know.
Oh yes,
and maybe that's what the referee was doing, Pat. You know. But
you wouldn't know.
Ronnie O'Sullivan seems to be there forever.
Yeah.
He seems to come and go, like, you know, he seems to come and go.
He's 46, going in 47, and he's one frame away, but he's an astonishing player. He has his ups and downs. As Joe said, you mentioned Alex Higgins. I never got to see Alex Higgins, unfortunately. He won it in 72 and 82, I think, Higgins, the World Championship. Of course, Dennis Taylor won it in 85, was it?
I don't know.
Something
Not
like
sure
that.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, he won it in 85 in the very last black, in the very last frame. That was it. And Ken Doherty has won it as well in 1997. Yeah, 1997. So, I mean, we do good snooker pedigree. Snooker's popular enough. I suppose it was just like a lot of those sports, there's ups and downs in it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I lived in Cork City, the amount of snooker clubs that were there at the time was, you could go to any street in Cork City at the time and get a snooker club, but now there's only probably a handful, 2 or 3 of them, you know. But I hope Sullivan makes it, because, you know, he deserves it, because he's such, I mean, we were talking about Keely Taylor. You must be dedicated to your sport, really, you know. You must be really, really dedicated. And you could see Higgins last year when he made that famous comment. He said, an awful lot of these new professionals, he said, they don't put in the time. I could beat 10 or 12 of them with one hand tied behind my back. Now, he was taken up wrong. What he meant was they don't put in the time. They're not dedicated.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't putting them down. He was saying they're not dedicated to their profession. That's what he meant. Out of frustration, they're turning up every year, and they're gone after the first and second round. You know, what's the point? But anyway, wish him well. What I'm going to say, the GA over the weekend, the football and hurling, Galway, Clare, Offaly, Wexford and Dublin all won their hurling matches. My own county of Cork were smashed by Clare as well, which was an embarrassment for the Cork hurlers, because really, I've never seen them as bad since 1998 was the last time I saw them that bad. And
they had a good league, hadn't they?
Well, they'd up and down, but then I don't think psychologically, I know, Joe, I'm thinking about this, Joe, it's the same in all sports. Psychologically, if you're beaten in an embarrassing defeat, I'm saying, not a hard luck defeat, but an embarrassing defeat, that affects you psychologically. I don't care, because you're a human being at the end of it, whether you're professional or amateur, and that affects you psychologically. It affects you as a person, your confidence to play again, your confidence to hold a hurley or tug out for a football match. Cork got a very bad beating in last year's All-Ireland final. They got an equally bad beating in the league final. They met Waterford in. And really, they scar players, Joe. You don't do psychological things, you know, and surely the manager you have then around you, the manager of the support team, helps to pick you up, if you know what I mean.
But I mean, it's what you're talking about there. You know, you can have a heavy defeat, you know, if it's a one-off, and you can put it down to a bad day, and you can move past it. But if you're having a series of bad days where you're taking heavy defeats, and I just go on my own sport, it is very, very difficult for you to overcome that and to get yourself back in a winning. winning is a mentality sometimes, and you believe that you're going to win wherever you go, and you need to have that if you're going to be successful in a top a top team kind of thing. But to have, to be getting it handed to you by different counties on a semi-regular basis is very, very difficult to come back from. It really is, and like I said, I'm really shocked about Cork, because I remember them, from when I was a young fella. My family my uncle lived in Cork. My first cousins lived down there, so we were always very interested in them. I used to go down there for the summer, and Cork were always kind of a mythical county for us in terms of GAA, because not only were they great in hurling, but they were great in football as well.
Yeah,
They were,
they used to go head to head, toe to toe with Kerry on a regular basis for Munster Championships back in the day. So just to see, both codes of the game kind of go to where I remember guys like, I think, Jimmy Barry Murphy.
yeah.
A name that sticks with me, forever.
Yeah.
Just from watching on TV, and these guys were legends of the game. And if anyone had said to me, I wouldn't have seen it coming.
But even Joe, even Pat, I remember the Munster finals in hurling and in football. I remember I was in the Order Malt at the time, and we used to be outside in the Gaelic grounds. Every year it was Cork and Tipperary most times, Cork and Tipperary. And the football was Cork and Kerry most times.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and even at the soccer, when you look at it now, we'll say Cork Celtic. They were at the top of their game. And now they're not. What's happening to sports in Cork,
Well, it is.
Well, you had Cork Hibs under David Cousy when they did them.
You had two teams, actually, two soccer teams in Cork at one stage.
Yeah.
Cork Celtic and Cork Hibernians.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember them. But I think, Joe, another point about psychological and training is, if you as a team, as a collective, are not listening or don't have confidence in the management team around you anymore, that's very serious.
It is. And that's why it's so much easier to change the people at the top than it is to really blow up the team and do anything with that. Because, it's so difficult. And United are going to find the same thing, getting things going in the right direction from next season with Eric Ten Hag. There's going to be players there that still are going to be selfish players, and they'll do well for a while. They'll listen, but ultimately, the broom has to come out, and they have to be gone.
That's true. Obviously now United aren't going to finish in the top four. It's between Spurs and Arsenal, I think. Spurs and Arsenal in the fourth place by looking at the figures on the table. You'll have Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and either Arsenal or Spurs. Spurs could make it, but I read a piece in the paper today that it's irrelevant whether Spurs make top four or not. Harry Kane is determined to leave the club anyway at the end of the season. There's people putting out stories about they were saying that he's hell-bent on going, and it looks like he could be going to Europe. I don't know. That's one of the speculation today in the paper. I don't know. You'll always get loads of that.
But
where's he going to go?
He wanted to leave anyway, didn't he, last season?
Yeah.
He wants to go away from Spurs for the last two seasons.
He has.
Right. Yeah. But where's he going to go? Barcelona don't have any money.
No, they don't.
Real Madrid are talking about the French guy. No, the other one, the forward player.
Yeah.
Haaland is going to Man City, it looks like. So where Bayern Munich don't have the money to buy him.
I think that there's only one place he'll go if he's going to Europe, and that's with his old buddy Pochettino and PSG.
You think so? So Mbappe is going to go to Real Madrid and he's going to go to PSG.
I don't know. I'm reading.
That'd be interesting. That'd be very interesting.
It would, yeah. But anyway, we're saying that the hurling, Galway, did you see any of the hurling, Anna, over the weekend?
No, I was boxing all weekend.
My God. And night and day. And Galway beat Kilkenny, Anna, as you know, in the hurling by 1 point, but a win is a win.
Yeah.
And Henry
where did they play?
In Galway, in Salt Hill. And Galway is managed by Henry Shefflin, as you know, holder of 10 All-Ireland medals. Yeah. And Kilkenny is managed by Cody, who gave Shefflin his very first Kilkenny jersey to wear. All those years ago. So it was a rattler of a match, you know. A lot of needle, but Galway came out, in fairness to them, you know, they had to win it, of course. Anyway, we were saying that Derwin Honan, we missed you tonight, Derwin. We're not going to say anything about golf because I had a few questions for Derwin. We'll hold him over till next week. He's golfing today. I suppose he deserves a break, you know. Anyway. So we're seeing, Anna, in the football, Limerick made history. Limerick and Clare made history, Anna, in Gaelic football, in that they brought in this thing in rule in Gaelic football. A lot of people aren't aware of it because it never happens.
I wasn't until yesterday.
And Limerick and Clare were playing in the Munster Senior Football Championship quarter-final, and they drew after full time, they drew after extra time, and there was what? A penalty shootout. Penalty shootout. First time ever they made history.
I couldn't believe it yesterday. I said, I must be reading that wrong. There's no penalties.
I know. So Limerick won, and they're playing Tipperary now in the semi-final, and Cork are playing Kerry in the other semi-final in the Munster Football Championship. And the All-Ireland champions were beaten Tyrone in football by Derry, you know, and Derry are tough. Derry are outsiders, but they're tough. They beat them by about 11 or 12 points, which was a huge surprise. So Tyrone are in the qualifiers. You get another game in the qualifiers. But now it's a serious matter for the teams from now on. Limerick are out next Sunday. Tipperary are coming up for a visit to the Gaelic grounds and next Sunday to say hello to Limerick, say hello to the hurlers. I don't think they'll be going home happy. That's my opinion, you know.
They've really come down this season, haven't they, Tipperary?
Oh, and I say Cork and Tip have no points in the round robin. They're the bottom two teams, and Cork are going down to Waterford. And I'd say it'll be a long road back after that match as well. So there you go. Cork and Tip will probably be playing each other in the very last game, and they'll probably have no points between them. Oh, you know, it's incredible. That's the way it's gone. But anyway, there's so many.
Very sad. It's very sad, Pat, because the strongest teams in hurling were the Munster teams.
They were.
You know, you often had the semi-finals, stage 3 Munster teams in the semi-finals.
Well, I have to give credit to Brian Lohan here in Clare, where I'm living now in Shannon, came in under the radar, so to speak. No big hullabaloo, has beat Tipperary comprehensively, beat Cork. They have their next 2 games, that's Clare in Innis, a nice tight ground. They have Waterford and Limerick in Innis. So really, be hammer and tongs, you know.
Well, I always dreaded Limerick going tennis.
Yeah.
It was never a good ground for Limerick.
Yeah, Clare beat them there last year as well. They won the league. Yeah, in a very tight match. But we wish them all luck. Showing an amateur game at the end, enjoyment. And I know I'm down as a Cork man, but we'll rise again, as they say. You know, now looking forward, Joe and Anna, just looking forward to this week. I mean, this is a bank holiday in the Republic of Ireland. Today, bank holiday Monday. So loads of places are closed. But tomorrow and Wednesday now will tell a lot about the 2 English teams left in the European Cup. Anna, I'll go to you first. I suppose you'd have to say Liverpool are in pole position to reach the final in Paris.
I would think so, but the only thing I do know about Klopp and about Liverpool, they will go there tomorrow, but they won't take anything for granted. even
No.
though they're 2 goals up. They won't take anything for granted.
No.
On Villa last week, I couldn't see them. As Joe said earlier, they're a team that have 10 in the goal mouth, and they're hoping for a break. And that's what they've won most of their matches on, is on that break. And I do think that Liverpool have a great defence and a great goalkeeper. So on form, I would expect Liverpool to come out tomorrow night, you know, as the victors. But in soccer, you can never tell.
No, but there is. And Joe, I suppose you'd say Liverpool are in the final. And what about the other match then, Man City and Real Madrid? Joe, what do you think? How would you see that playing out?
To be honest, I think that Man City are going to win it. I really do. I mean, I think Real have really pushed their luck a little bit in this tournament. They were fortunate to get out of their group. They've won. I think they've got to this stage on the back of their home form, although they won at Chelsea 3-1. But then Chelsea go to the Bernabeu and score 3 goals against them there. So if Chelsea can put 3 past them there, I just have to ask, what can Man City do against them? Because Man City are in a much better place than Chelsea are right now. So I have a sneaky feeling that it's going to be City and Liverpool in the final. And
Anna, would you agree with that?
I think I prefer to play Man City than Real Madrid in a final.
So Liverpool, Man City, I'll stick to my origin, Liverpool, Real Madrid.
But I agree with you, Pat. I think it, you know, I think it could be Real Madrid tomorrow night. I do, because they're at home. But then, as Joe said, they were 3 up and Chelsea went there and beat them. So, you know, I mean, anything is possible. These are cup games, and anything is possible in a cup game.
That's true. Lads, thanks for your time on this lovely bank holiday, 2nd of May. From Joe Waters, from Anna Moore and myself, till we meet again, good night and take care, and God bless.
Night, everybody.
Night, Pat. Good night, Anna.
Night, Joe. Night, Pat.